How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about old shows from the 80s, and there was this show called Kojak that I'm not familiar with.
Oh,
but apparently it was like this.
Mm-hmm.
And his catchphrase was, "Who loves you, baby?"
Mm-hmm. Who loves you, baby?
I'm trying to bring it back.
Can you hear that Beastie Boys?
Classic. Huh?
Can you hear that Beastie Boys if I play it?
Can't hear it now. No.
Right here.
Maybe it's too slow and low. That's my little joke there. No? Oh.
Can you hear that?
It's cutting in and out, but I can...
Well, I was pausing it too.
Not enough to make it out, though. Well, I could hear that it was the Beastie Boys. Couldn't hear what song, though.
Well, I could go intergalactic and go like this. Intergalactic. Oh, wait.
It's been too long. It's funny. I was recently thinking about the old Beastie Boys. The Beastie Boys. I think my favorite, I know Paul's Boutique gets all the attention, but I think my favorite Beastie Boys album is Check Your Head. I wonder if John Mark, I can't remember if John Mark's into the Beastie Boys or not. Chris, you into them?
Sorry, I'm dealing with a child. But I do like the Beastie Boys. I'm not a huge fan, but I liked intergalactic planetary
that's what Lyle was just playing,
it was like my 98, that was like when I was a junior in high school and the big deal. So but I mean right. I like the other shit too. Yeah,
I was just rapping that I was going.
I was just thinking they should do the fucking who should play the Super Bowl after all this controversy is the Beastie Boys with hologram. Was it Adam A-Rock that died?
I was gonna say how would they do that? But interesting, yeah. He's
wouldn't that
been
be cool,
gone
though?
for a long time. That would be cool.
Yeah. A lot of flack for that Super Bowl fucking performance. A lot of controversy. Most people of a certain age group are like, why?
Well, yeah, I understand the confusion, and if you're not even remotely up on that the beef, as the kids say, you wouldn't know.
Yeah. I wasn't. Were you? I wasn't until after. I was like, oh my
only
God.
Because I'm on TikTok, I see some shit pop up. But I'm not a fan of either one of these, but I loved it. I thought, because everyone was going to be like, oh, is he going to say it? Is he going to go there? And then he does, and he looks in the camera and is like, say Drake. I hear you. It was amazing. I know this is old news at this point, but the thing that I liked about it was how so many people were just like analyzing like every little thing, like trying to read into it. Right wingers were finding things in it. Left wingers were finding things in it. It kind of became a bit of a Rorschach test for what actually is this. I don't think it was as deep as a lot of people were trying to find, but I thought that there was some pretty interesting things put into it, and bold and very strange altogether. Yeah. But I think, am I right? Is next year's Super Bowl in San Fran?
In California.
Because everyone keeps talking about why. For years and years and years and years, people have been like, get Metallica on there. But Metallica is a San Francisco band, and I'm pretty sure
I've read. So that I saw that too, and I was like, man, have they ever played it? And I looked it up. Sure shit, they've never played the Super Bowl halftime.
No.
There was an interview from like 5 years ago where, what's the lead singer's name?
James Hetfield.
He was like, we'll fucking never play the Super Bowl halftime. He's like, people, it's just not our jam. People wouldn't be into it. I was like, I think it's time.
Well, they did a jam with fucking Lady Gaga too. Lady Gaga covered a couple of their songs. I guess in an album. It was like the Enter Sandman, obviously, and then something else.
I think,
but that would have been a perfect time because they would have been able, if they would have played together at a halftime Super Bowl, that would have worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they'd work on their own. I think Metallica. Do you know when that interview you saw was, Chris?
What'd you say?
Do you know when that interview happened that you saw?
It was like 2016.
See, I think Metallica just kind of continues to be Metallica, but also continues to infiltrate more and more of the mainstream.
Well, they just finished another fucking stadium tour where they went through. They're selling out stadiums still.
Yeah, they're still a relevant band.
Is amazing. Yeah.
And
Well, they could just
I can't
pop their
think of
old-
any band that I've heard that more people request. I remember people wanted Prince, and then Prince did it.
And
But
he fucking
Other
killed
than,
it.
other than, yeah, that was an amazing halftime. But other than that,
Epic.
I can't think of any band that I've heard requested by the fans more than Metallica. I think they would. Lau's got an interesting point, though. I mean, at this point, and Metallica, they're old guys, and something happens when you get old. You're not worried about being cool or relevant. That happens just
where I'm at
because it
now.
happens. Yeah, right. But they're even older than us, and so it's like that's why they've kind of gotten jiggy with it. And then you do some stuff with
they're more
Lady
likely
Gaga.
to let
and-
Drake have a retaliatory performance or something. You know what I mean? At this point,
Can
you imagine?
They'd probably get more
they let
viewers.
Drake do it
But,
next year. Oh my god!
yeah.
It's weird. I heard a little bit of the conspiracy on it and on like kind of what there was going what went down. I didn't watch, so I have no idea on full halftime thing. I didn't watch it, so
Yeah.
I don't really know at all. But I've seen the bits and pictures where they're kind of piecing it together and making it stand out like it's something else. Kind of like I don't know, the rap culture kind of does when they're
Well,
dissing
like I
somebody.
said, it's become a bit of a Rorschach because, I mean, look, it's pretty direct. His
It's
diss
pedophile.
against Drake is a pedophilia reference, and so a lot of people are looking for other references like that. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things, and I think it is. I thought, just as someone who appreciates art and appreciates putting on performances, it's not my music, and I knew, the only thing I really heard about Kendrick was this beef. I've heard a lot of Drake's music just from working at Boost Mobile. That was happening, they used to call me on my cell phone, but that's 10 years old at this point. I didn't know a lot about Kendrick, but I found the key moments of that performance to be kind of spellbinding. But the fact that they put so much into it, I think is intriguing, even if it's a lot of bullshit and people are reading too much into it, and we do that. But that's what's fun about pop culture. It's what's fun about art. People will get what they need out of it.
I like
The
it.
conspiracies
the
are
whole
kind of funny.
thing, even I like the whole thing, even if it was, veiled in, a little secrecy. But this is what we're actually saying. I dig it. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I think it's actually pretty
It's
cool.
fun.
But
I mean, look at how much people have been digging into this. You could write a thesis on how many little things. There was so much going on there. And there were things that you didn't really get, and then all these like disses within the diss, like the tennis player was Serena coming out and crip walking, and
Crip walking.
Great, by the way.
it's like Drake's ex.
She looks so
It was like,
fucking hot doing that. I was like, oh my god.
There was something really like I could have watched her crip walk all night.
Yeah.
Like she's good at it. I tried to do it. I tried it in the mirror. I was like, I wonder if I could crip walk. It's like, nope, I must not. I must never. I can
Never
dipshit
in
walk.
public.
John Mark, you there?
I'm here. Yes.
I wanted
Hello,
to know
fellas.
if you
John Mark.
are you a
good.
Beastie Boys fan? I think you are to some degree.
Yeah, I like them all right. Yeah.
What's your favorite Beastie Boys album? I bet I can guess.
Oh, probably,
License to Ill.
probably check your head.
Yeah, that's what I guess. Paul's Boutique gets all the attention, and Paul's Boutique is incredible. Like it's a fucking groundbreaking. It holds up, even though it's kind of locked into that early hip hop era. It's an important album, and
It's a fucking incredible feat of engineering, if nothing else, man. Jesus.
yeah, the samples on that, like the liner notes on that, crediting all the samples is ridiculous. Because it's almost completely structured. This was new. I mean, samples weren't new, but completely constructing songs based off samples. But then Check Your Head, they were doing some of that, but they're also playing their own instruments, and there's a little more punk to it. And I think Check Your Head must have come out around 94, 93 or 94. It was post Nirvana explosion, and it had... I don't know. There's just something about it. Like, so what you want?
I think it was even earlier than
They
that.
just
I think it was
crossed
maybe
so many worlds.
92 maybe.
I know I was in high school, so it is one of them years. But and then they brought back some of the punk. A lot of people to this day, most people know, but a lot of people still don't know that before they got into hip hop, the Beastie Boys were a 3-piece punk band, and they brought some of that back on Check Your Head. But good shit. Anywho, this will be a bit of a little catch up, and then we're going to get into. I have a mini soup de jour. It's a Grim and Pleasant. I know y'all like those. We'll talk more about that in a bit, but it's been so long. I was just looking at the last time we did this. It's like Discord always reminds me. So we haven't done this since January 13, which means the show probably came up the 15th or 16th. But time gets away. Sorry about that, y'all.
Speaking of time.
I can tell by my mixer and how much dust I have on my mixer.
Yeah, none of my shit was connected. I had to take all my microphones for a couple of performances. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. I almost had to cancel our podcast tonight to a family emergency.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you right now, every time somebody tells me that I don't see very often how old their children are, I'm always like, are you fucking shitting me? And I'm going to tell you guys right now, my kid, and I remember it feels like maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, I came on our show and I told you guys that I'm going to be a dad. Like, I'm having this kid out of an unplanned situation. And it wasn't easy for me to tell everyone that because most of my life is based off of plans.
Sure.
So my child turned 7 last 2 weeks ago, which fucking blows my mind. But I was wondering if that would blow your mind too. He's now.
Well, you know what's interesting? A blast from the past just came to visit me 2 days ago. Y'all remember Dollface?
Oh yeah,
longtime listeners will remember Dollface, and she was asking about you guys and how you've all have been, and I got to Chris and said, well, you know, he's a dad. She's like, what? She had no idea, and my guess, I was like, God, I think he's 6 now, so I wasn't too far off.
No, you really weren't. Which is, I mean, like I said, I'm the first one to be like, oh my God, I would have thought he was 4. You know, like that's my perception usually. Time's just so fucking weird, you know?
Well, kids make time way weirder. Like when you see kid time, because we all remember back in those seemingly endless days of youth, it was like all you wanted to do was be older. Me anyway, like I just wanted to be older, wanted to be an adult. And sometimes I wasn't even able to think in those terms because it seemed like too far away. Yeah. But now it's like, and from like, what really blows my mind is like thinking about being 14 years old compared to 18. That is a lifetime when you are the kid going from 14 to 18.
Truly.
But COVID wasn't even like COVID was longer than 4 years ago. At this point, it was like time is so different when you're grown up, and you know these are cliches for a reason. But for anyone that doesn't have kids in their, even if you've got like nephews or cousins that are younger, when you are an adult watching children grow up from any peripheral level, it's wild. But what's crazy is that it's wild even when they're in front of your face all the time, because they can grow, like especially at your kids' age, Chris. Like they can the rate at which they can not only develop and like their voice gets lower, their conversations get more grown up, and then they but literally growing, like they can grow 2 inches in one fucking summer. It is absurd. Probably even more than that, but having, you know, Sarah's kids in my life, it's like they've been around me all the time. Like my niece and nephew, I was a bad uncle because I was too busy to spend a lot of time with them. I regret not getting to know them more when they were younger, and now they're in high school and junior high, and it's like seeing them, and then they go away for a couple months, and I'd see them at the next holiday, and then that was like, holy shit, they look so much older. But it's even weirder when you're seeing them all the time growing right in front of your fucking face, one day to the next. But so, but the really weird thing is you are what now 9 years. He's almost at the halfway mark from when he will be living under your, you know, he can hang out at your house until he's 20, but when he's 18, he'll probably hit the road.
He's in such a fun age right now. Like I really do consider him my little best friend. He's really into Star Wars now, which I'm super grateful for. So we're like rewatching all the Star Wars movies. We started with the prequels because I feel like they're a little more digestible for his age. Sure. So we start there, and we're reading also a book at bedtime that kind of goes over this stuff. And I asked him, I was like, "Do you want to read a different book tonight, baby?" And he goes, "No." He's like, "Daddy, I'm interested in Star Wars right now. Let's do it." And I'm like, "Oh,
Please
God.
please don't take me out
It's
of
so
Star
sweet.
Wars.
I'm like, I'm dad gushing a little bit right now. Just allow me for a moment.
You go.
But we read every night together, and I picked up Charlotte's Web, the book,
Ooh.
and we read through Charlotte's Web, and I got to one of the very last chapters where Charlotte dies, and I'm in the very fucking last line. I might like tear up fucking telling you this is so dumb.
I'm tearing
the
up
very
listening
last
to
line in that book is "She died alone."
Yeah.
At the very last line of that chapter.
'Cause all
And
the
I got
kids
to
go
it,
away.
and I was like, I can do it. I can do it. And I sat there kind of quietly, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "Daddy, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, baby, give me a sec." And I was like, "She died alone." Like what it sounded like. And I'm like choking back tears.
alone?
And he's being very sweet, and he's cuddling me. He's like, "Daddy, it's okay." And I'm like,
Aw.
"Yeah, you'll see when we watch the fucking movie and you understand." And that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. The next week, we watched the 2006 movie where it's like a live action Charlotte's Web with 3D animated spider
saw
shit.
that.
And it's like Julia Roberts is Charlotte. So she's great voice, right? And we're watching it, and I'm watching him, and we see the scene where Charlotte dies, and she just, with the last of her energy, she waves one little claw at fucking Wilbur, and she dies.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him, and he just buries his little fucking face in his hands, and he looks up at me like, "Is this okay?" And I'm like, "Baby, it's okay."
He looks up at you, and your face is already buried in your hands.
I'm like, "It's okay, we cry together."
He's like, "Okay,
But,
got it."
And I was like, I wondered how much that had an impact on him, like if he was going to remember this story and like us doing this together. And I talked to his mom like a week later, and she's like, "Oh my God," she's like, "I picked Logan up from school the other day, and he told me you guys read the book and watched Charlotte's Web, and the first thing he said was, 'Mommy, it was amazing.'" And I was like, "Oh, this is great!" Like he fucking remembers, and like it was impactful, and it was cool. But what I wanted to tell you guys, and this is like totally like a little TMI, but like we didn't get Logan circumcised when he was born. Are you guys circumcised? Around the table, I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, I am circumcised.
It's a dying trend, I think.
And that's exactly what our pediatrician told us. He was like, "Yo, I will absolutely do this for you if you want me to." He's like, "But I don't recommend it anymore." He's like, "If you're religious and it's important to you, let's do it." He's like, "But like we used to do it because we thought it was a health hazard, and it's just not."
No.
Well, so we didn't.
One more part of cleaning
is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like.
You get dirt, and if you don't clean it properly, especially at a young age, you get infections.
Just true of anything.
Fast forward to tonight at 7, where he goes, "Daddy, I don't like to go pee because I feel like when I go pee, it smells bad down there, and it's itchy." And I was like, "Oh, baby," I was like, "We probably got to clean your penis." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, he had an incident like a month ago where he got a little boner at his mom's and freaked out because he's like, he saw his fucking dick for the first time, basically, because it came out of the skin, right?" And I'm like, can you imagine? Like, fuck. So he freaked out, and she called me. He's like, he won't talk to me. He wants to talk to Dad. I was like, "I'm here. Let's do this. Who loves you, baby?"
Of course.
But, so we did it, and but tonight we had to we almost went to urgent care because he was like, "It hurts so bad down there when I try to open it up and clean it," and we had to spend like 2 hours going over it and like working at it and like talking about. We watched YouTube videos together and shit.
Yeah.
In the end, he was fine. Like I was able to clean it for him, but fuck me, man. I was like, I got done with that, and I was like, I need a fucking drink. I don't know what to say. I was just like emotionally, physically, everything drained, and it was like so scary for a minute where I was like, I'm gonna have to fucking take my kid to urgent care because of his dick.
Yeah.
Like, what life am I living right now?
Well, it's interesting because you didn't grow up with that. Oh, wait,
I had to fucking watch a YouTube video. Like I was like,
I was told by my parents that I was not circumcised, but I think I played with it for so long as a youth that it just got big.
You outgrew your foreskin. I feel like we talked about this.
But what the problem is that ever since I've had the hydrocele, which has been going on since I had my surgery, and toting around a fucking softball in my fucking ball sack.
Yeah.
I've created more of a foreskin now. It's weird. It's like when I first started to work out and go back to the gym.
It's a before skin.
Yeah, the foreskin took over. It just grew. because of the hydrocele stretched it out so much that it grew.
It's basically a 5-skin.
So yeah, now if they got rid of that fucking hydrocele, I don't know what the hell would happen. I'd probably fly away. I had like a bat suit, like a squirrels fly from tree to tree.
Yeah.
I could probably do that from building to building with my foreskin.
Yeah. Whoosh. Well, there are books, of course, about parenting, but there's no true manual because every child is on its own adventure, and there are just things that you don't really think about until there they are to deal with, and those are conversations and sometimes trips to the doctor.
Yeah, totally.
But
I'm glad there wasn't one tonight, though.
Sounds like you nipped it in the foreskin, and everything will be just fine. It's a learning moment, but God, he's 7. I'm trying to think when I had my first boner. I guess I probably couldn't possibly remember. I remember when I first started like jacking off, but I was older than that. Not too much, but
how old were you?
I remember
the first time you jacked off.
I would have guessed it was right before we moved to Wenatchee, so I was probably 10.
Holy,
like 9 or 10.
That feels young.
That feels young.
I could tell you I was in 5th or 4th grade when I think I got my first boner. And I think it was during class. So it was like during school, like during class.
Oh no!
And I don't even think it was anything really sexual that triggered it. It just fucking happened.
No, it's you're literally developing, and when it's developing, it does what it fucking wants. It still does.
And the thing was, I was scared shitless that I was going to get called up to the front of the class.
Sure.
And I was like,
with your fucking crippler boner.
It's a classic.
Yeah, right.
Classic boner.
I mean, fuck, it must have looked huge. And then I remember. Well, you remember like our buddy Scott at that time when I think we were in Sterling Middle School, and there was a kid that me and Scott used to hang out with. I think it was.
Well, we should probably not necessarily name him.
Well, you bleep.
Edit that out, probably.
Anyway, we were walking home from school, and he mentioned something on the lines of, "Yeah, man, fucking it's something about like you just fucking pull it, fucking real hard, fucking white shit squirts out." And I was like, "What? No way!" And then it was on my mind that evening, and I tried it, I think, and I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Well, it goes to show how little of our parents, like even my parents, had some sort of sex education talk, but not really. And a lot of us didn't. We were left to figure this shit out. And then I don't remember health class going into sex ed until I was at least in middle school. And by then I had figured some things out between watching. I don't think I'd seen any hardcore porn at that point, but you learn from other kids at school, maybe a magazine that they came across. And usually it's text-based learning more than the visuals back then. And so you'd figure shit out. But I remember the first time that I came and it freaked me out. Like I was like, oh shit, I played with myself too long. Like I freaked out.
I broke it.
I probably said, oh, go back inside. You're not supposed to be out. I didn't fucking know. I was like, why were my parents so afraid? I mean, at that point, they should have been having these talks with me. Like
bleeding white blood out of my dick.
Bleeding white.
I think I remember as a kid that even the Sears catalog was like,
oh shit, the Sears catalog. Remember when you got the new one?
Mom's just like, I gotta order some bras. Why are these pages sticky? Lyle.
It's like 400 pages, but we all knew which ones to go to.
It was the 80s, guys, so it's like, most people would go buy their bra at the fucking mall. But like I said, for us kids, I mean, Jesus, if you leave that shit around, it's nothing. There's nothing dirty in it.
No, but it was scandalous to us.
Bra and panty sex, I mean, that's early porn for us.
Sure. You brought back I wouldn't say a repressed memory, but something I hadn't thought about in a long time.
Right.
I always remember the first like porn magazines I found, but yeah, you're right. Those the underwear section of the J.C. Penney's catalogs were that was porn that you could get caught looking at as long as you flipped the page because it wasn't that far away from the toy section. The fucking Sears catalog, man. For anyone that was born Chris, was the Sears catalog even a thing when you were a kid? Was that
It was, but
already
it wasn't
phasing
that
out?
thing enough for me at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in the generation after that probably doesn't even know what we're talking about. What's a catalog? That thing was thicker than the fucking phone book, and you had a toy section, which was another type of porn for us kids. And just, it was like a glimpse into the world. Like, oh, that's a different kind of sleeping bag. Like, I could camp in that. I could see myself camping in that. And then you'd skip right over into, what do we got for us higher? Yeah. I'd always
My
disappear.
houses actually had a Sears catalogs too back in the day. Like, I think before our time. But
Yeah, the
just
original
barely.
spec homes. Absolutely.
Man.
Well, yeah. It's, so have you had any kind of talk with the boy about parts and any regarding?
talked about-
that's
we
pretty
talked
young
about
for
parts.
sex ed, but
Yeah, we're not quite to sex ed
you're
time.
not there
Like,
yet,
he
yeah.
asked where babies come from and shit, and I'm like, well, one
Yep.
man and a woman love each other very much. Blah, blah, blah. But
that old
you know,
classic. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, we'll tell you, when you're older, you'll understand more and shit. And he's like, okay. But no, he's pretty chill most of the time. And if he's not fucking smelling his schmegma or getting a boner for the first time, he's pretty fucking great.
You had to have the smegma talk.
Oh man,
Oh,
it was
dear.
a day for me.
I bet.
I'm fucking.
Well,
I wanted to bring up this fish story, which is going to be surprising coming from me, but I'm sure you all saw this story about that, like the angler fish that
Yeah.
came to the surface.
yeah.
Now, I saw that day one, you guys. I saw that story, and I was high as a kite, and I was watching this fucking reel, and I was like, oh, it's so fucking cute, because I'm going to send you a photo. When I was looking at it, this is what I saw, and the
Well,
red
but
circles.
set the story up, though, for anyone that hasn't actually seen it.
This anglerfish, I don't know if the super deep dwelling fish that has like the little bulb on top of its head.
Anglerfish, you're right.
yeah, they found them in the '90s, like at the Gulf of it was the tail end of like South America,
Yeah.
down by Chile.
Yes.
That's where they found them. I mean, they're not new. I mean, we've seen
No, but we've known about them for a long time. But I guess the story is they don't ever come to the surface. It's
Yeah.
no,
not
they
the way
live in
do.
the deep deep.
They live deep,
bottom
deep.
dwellers,
and so they had never seen daylight. Even they shouldn't ever have experienced that. But as I'm watching this video, I'm just watching it, and I don't have the volume on. I'm watching. I'm like, look at this cute ass fish, because what I sent you was the perspective I had, and I thought where the red dots are were its eyes. Did you see the photo I sent you?
What
It's
are
a fucking different kind of fish when you're looking at it. It's like grinning. It's like, oh my god, yes.
Oh, I see. So you drew the red eyes on
I did. I
to
drew those on
orientate it how you saw it. So you saw it as a SpongeBob SquarePants character.
It totally is. And it was so fucking charming. I was like, look at this little thing. It's just like, see it, it's so happy.
Well, that's the
and I
cover
was
for
like,
the
oh
episode.
my god, I'm looking at this wrong and it's hideous.
Because it's still a maniacal mouth, but it's smiling at least. And but when you turn it to the right side round, it's the
Ugliest fucking mouth you're ever gonna see.
Yeah,
That's gonna have to be on the
that'll
image.
be the episode image for sure. Complete with Christopher's orientation circles there. Yeah. Well, what's funny is that I saw that picture a million times, and I'm like, what?
You never.
But I saw one of the most. So this is the experts are agreeing that this is tied to climate change, and it's just like this thing. And it was this fish was dying basically, but swimming up. It was just maybe it's a fluke thing, and maybe we won't see this again anytime soon. But somebody, I think the first time I saw this story, it was on TikTok or some little short reel film somewhere, and someone said this amazing photo of a deep sea anglerfish seeing for the first time light that it didn't create itself. And I thought that was so fucking poetically said. And it almost made me cry. It's like, seeing the light that it didn't create for itself. There's a lot to that. Now, whatever the story is, and maybe you don't care, or maybe you do, but I just loved how that person worded that. But I love even more your your cartoon. It's like, Lord, no, finally a fish that I can get behind.
Totally, I was like, oh, I'm not disgusted. It's so cute.
Oriented this way. Yeah.
I probably watched that for 40 seconds before I was like, oh my God, I've got this wrong.
It kind of reminds me of Muddy the Mud Skipper from Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. It is more Ren and Stimpy than SpongeBob.
For people that don't know, the anglerfish, when they hunt, they have a antenna that's on the top of their head and it arches down right in front of their mouth. And they have phosphorescence, basically a glowing light. So when they're at the very depths in the bottom of the ocean, it's completely pitch black dark. But that's how they allure fish to come to them. And then once they come up to the light, they just chomp on them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being one of those fish that gets chomped on? It's like, oh, the light. And then you see the most hideous fucking mouth you've ever seen in your life coming at you. You're like, fuck me.
You ever played Nautica, the video game?
It looks so hideous. Their fucking mouth. Ugh.
They are. I mean, it's clearly a scary kind of looking fish, but yeah, that was. I was
surprised to see how tiny it really was. Did you see that photo?
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah.
And apparently they don't get very big, but I didn't know. I mean, that was tiny. Like this was like a fist size, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I mean, they live in the depths of there's so much pressure.
And not a hint of light
that deep,
yeah.
That it's really that's the reason why you don't see them up towards the surface, because they live in that bottom, gravity where everything's crushing. It's like it's really super pressurized down there, so that's where they live. And once they, like you said, Ron, he was probably dying and then floating to the top. And
I think he died not
being
long
alive
after
while he's doing it.
Video was
when we used to go charter fishing out in the ocean. We would catch sea bass, and we'd catch them at about the mid-level of that. And then when you're pulling them up, basically what happens is the pressure, it makes their guts come out their mouth. So when you pull them up and you get them actually up to the boat, they just have this pile of their intestines and stuff hanging out of their mouths. It's kind of like a little bit of the bends, like humans get the bends when they go up too fast. It's the same exact thing with the fish. When you catch them down that low and you reel them up that fast, they pretty much implode a little bit. So,
well, before we get on to my little soup du jour here, I wanted to talk about some shows that I've been watching, because I don't remember if I've heard you guys talking about them, but I've heard everyone talking about Severance, and
yes,
I got caught up to speed on Severance. I guess that couldn't have been a season finale that I left on.
I think it's still airing. I haven't started season 2, but I love season 1.
No, we're only about halfway through season 2 right now.
I'm caught up on season 2, so I'm waiting for the next one to drop. But
what do you think?
Fucking incredible, and I didn't know anything about it. And I think it's kind of another one of those shows that would be tough to terribly spoil anything, but I'm not going to spoil anyway. I will say that the vibe it gives me is Lost meets The Office, and it's
Loftus.
Lost. Yeah, okay. It's fucking fascinating, and I'm excited to continue the journey. I have nothing else to say about it other than if you like Lost, it's not Lost. There's like you didn't know what the fuck was going on, and even right up into the end, you didn't really know what was going on. This you got a pretty good understanding of what's going on, but there was also some things that sort of hearkened to the substance. Where it's like sort of splitting your time, splitting your personality to some degree. It was giving me some of those vibes, but it's a really interesting story. I was just curious if you guys had all watched it. But another one that go ahead.
We watched the first season when it came out like 3 fucking years ago. It was crazy. So crazy it took them that long to get the second season out, but there was a bunch of shit that happened, obviously. But so season 2 came out and we watched like the first maybe two episodes, and we're like, I kind of remembered a lot of stuff, or like, you know what, let's just watch season 1 again. So we just went back and watched season 1 again and just went straight back into season 2 wherever we were at that.
Yeah.
And that was the move. That was the way to do it.
Yeah. I got to marathon them all right up until I think maybe the newest episode dropped. or another week away
It's
from
like
it.
last Thursday, I think it was.
Oh, is it on Thursday? Well, then I've probably seen them all up to date. But yeah, fucking incredible. But I don't see. I'm trying not to get into shows that are still in progress. But for whatever reason, I had a little bit of a break, and I wanted to get into it. But another show that I feel like has come up on the podcast is White Lotus.
Yeah.
I watched the first 2 seasons of that, and that you can get into season by season because they're kind of compartmentalized seasons. It's like
True Detective.
it's a hard.
There's some returning characters, but
There are some returning characters, and it's the same. Like White Lotus is a resort, but it's a resort chain, and they happen all over the world. So what the first season I think was Hawaii, and the second season was
It's like Greece or Italy or something.
somewhere. Yeah, Italy, yeah. And I went to go watch season 3 because I saw that it dropped, but it's doing the episode by episode thing.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that. I don't understand that in the age where people are not, why do it week
I
by
think
week?
Like you talk about it, like people, did you watch last night's fucking Severance? Are you caught up? And it becomes a show that's so much more relevant for 2 months as opposed to like a 2-week span.
Yeah, I guess you're
I
right,
don't
but
know.
I don't want
It also
Like,
keeps
when I-
people subscribed to whatever service, right? So
Yeah, that's another way to look
Yeah.
at it for sure.
That is true, because
I
you
don't
can
know.
marathon a whole
I
season in
prefer
one
to
day.
just give it all to me. But also, there's something to be said. Like, there was something magical about Game of Thrones airing episode by episode and getting back to work or in my bar to talk about what happened last night. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
just don't have that with the binge ones.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that. I guess I don't really socialize anymore. Like
It's wild to me because of everything you do.
I am constantly around people.
Yeah.
And in big crowds, but it's mostly me talking to them about them and interviewing people, or it's I mean, I guess
or you're
that,
like talking business and stuff.
yeah, it's
right?
mostly
Usually.
that. And I guess that this pop culture-y stuff does come up from time to time, but not very often, because I don't have a job. I don't work with people like coworkers and stuff, and I miss some of that, like the water cooler conversations and stuff like that, because my life is so chaotic. Day to day, it's so different, even though I have obviously certain things I got to stick to concerning the magazine. Oh shit, I got to tell you. So last month I was working on the February issue of the Comet, and I had been working on it for about 2 weeks, and I was about 90% done, completely done, pretty much. Just a few things to drop in and start proofing. And then I started getting some glitches going on in my computer, and then I realized that my scratch drive was full. So I went and did what I do every now and again, deleted some of the bigger files that I no longer need. And I'm very careful when I do this. I'm like, okay, what are the dates here? Don't delete anything pertinent. But for whatever fucking reason, I just wasn't paying attention, and I deleted the entire folder that had the InDesign file, it didn't have the graphics, thank Christ, but it had all of the other call to, like all the style sheet stuff. The entirety of my livelihood was in this folder, and I was this close to being done, and I just deleted it. And I'm like, I swear I sat there staring at my computer screen for like an hour. I couldn't move, and I'm like,
thank God for the garbage bin, huh?
well, see, I'd already cleared out the garbage bin, but you should be able to still recover files that you've deleted. But I just knew, no matter what I downloaded, no matter what app or whatever thing that I tried, I knew I wasn't going to get it back. So I downloaded some of those apps that, recovery files or recovery apps. And I was finding shit that I had deleted like 2 years ago. But I could not find the file that I deleted 3 hours ago. And I looked and looked. I spent about 6 hours just desperately trying to. And then like, I don't have time for this. I have to have this magazine completely rebuilt in 3.5 days. So I just sat down and started over from scratch. And I didn't even have the backups. Like I'd already done backups. and the backup proofs. So I didn't even have the roadmaps to how I had the issue laid out. I had nothing.
You said do it over again.
I had to do the entire thing from scratch. Now, I thought that this whole time I had been backing up my shit to the cloud, the Adobe cloud. Turns out they discontinued that service a year and a half ago. I did not know this. For anything other than commercial accounts, they stopped doing that. So I've been saving it to this folder, which was the cloud folder. But once they, like for the last year and a half, that folder was just another folder on my desktop. So there was nothing. And let me tell you, though, the Ronster can get shit done when he really fucking needs to. I rebuilt...
You're a real back against the wall creature. I've seen it.
48 pages of magazine in 2 days. And I got caught up to where... And in fact, I finished slightly ahead of the game. Like we had a little bit more time to proof the issue than I thought we would, even after working on it for 2 weeks.
So just to verify on what happened is, I'm assuming that you would go back to old projects and just you could obviously delete certain like paragraphs, picture places, stuff like that. Use it as a template and then go from there. But no, you couldn't do that.
No,
you literally had to go from scratch and lay it all out.
I was able to go back a few issues ago and at least have the structure of the magazine, but there wasn't anything on there that I could use.
Right.
I mean, the graphics, the thing that saved me was that the graphics were all in another folder. And honestly, the graphics are about a third of the time. You got to process them. You got to turn them CMYK. You got to make them newsprint ready. That takes a shit ton of time. So once I had the paper rebuilt, I was just able to call those back in. Instead of having to do that all over again. Otherwise, the magazine would have been out late. There's just no way it could have been done. But yeah, I about had a heart attack. Not taking your kid to the doctor for penis-related things, stressful, but it was pretty fucking stressful. Oh, sure. It was like, and let me tell you, I went back to my old ways of 2 or 3 backups, and at the end of each session, I save it and I upload it to Google Drive because Google Drive will always be there.
Yeah. Selfishly, I was concerned you were going to say you had deleted all of our old podcasts. I was like, oh man, that's really heartbreaking.
Oh no, those are online. Those are forever.
Yeah. Good.
I was going to say
yes, very good. Go ahead, Lyle.
I was going to say most of the old ones I got recorded as backups that are the real show, the unedited.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have most of them.
Oh no, those are all online.
We did. Well, I know, but there were for a long time there when we had that one incident where you didn't do the backup, and I was like, oh fuck it, I got enough room, dude. I'll just do the backup, and I was recording the redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
You probably did it twice.
It saved us a couple times.
For me, for a backup, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have those, and they're all unedited. So I mean, there's probably a lot of gems in there that got deleted.
There's probably a lot of good stuff for us to go back and listen to, but shit we never want to release.
No, it'd take forever to listen to it all. Jesus.
Before we get moving on to my shit, I did want real quick, John Mark, I'm dying to know how your Shakti and meditation experience has gone.
Yeah, man.
I only did it the one time. And here's why.
Okay.
Well, not the one time, twice. This last time I did it was like for half an hour. And I think I almost fell asleep.
Yeah.
I think I did fall asleep.
Yeah.
I was listening to music and I remember opening my eyes and the music was done. It was about a half an hour long album. And I remember closing my eyes, listening to it, laying on the Shakti mat. And then I opened my eyes at one point. I don't remember the music stopping, right? But I opened my eyes and the music was done. I was like, oh, here I am.
Yeah.
It felt good.
That's the thing. The time just goes by.
How come you haven't done it again then?
Yeah.
Because I've been going to physical therapy for my back. And so I've been doing I feel like I feel like I want to, but it's just I've been doing other, not exercises, but, physical therapy things. when I have spare time. So I just kind of get distracted with that stuff. Yeah, I've been going to physical therapy a couple times a week because my lower back, there's like on the right side. If I stand up too long or if I'm walking, it feels like someone's stabbing me, in the back there. And then my right leg kind of goes numb a little bit. And it's like,
sounds like a sciatica shit.
Hey, it is definitely a sciatica thing. Yeah.
This is a testament to how fucking old we are, John Mark. But I too
it
went
totally
to physical therapy last week for my lower back.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Mine's been fucked too.
I didn't even do anything. It's just being old.
Fuck.
I tore my fucking knee carrying Dollface's 60-pound suitcase up the stairs.
She stayed with you? Oh my god.
Well, no, she was visiting somebody here. She wasn't sure if she was going to have a place to stay, so my place was like a backup. But she was hanging out here for several hours before she went to meet up with a friend. But so I had to haul that thing up, and I still can barely walk up the fucking stairs. It was like, man, the shit we used to be able to do. And sometimes you'd hurt something.
Maybe I'll just get the Shakti mat out right now.
Do it.
While we're
Do it.
podcasting.
Get on it.
We'll do it live.
Get on it, son.
We start hearing snores, we'll know where it's coming from.
Hopefully I don't fall asleep.
It's like, whoa, I time warped. All right. Well, it sounds like you got more research to do.
I wanted to get you to call the number on that little postcard.
Okay. All right. What is this number?
Let me set it up for you.
Set the stage first.
So, what was it? A couple weeks ago, I think. Got this postcard in the mail. I sent you guys the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just describe it for everybody. It's come on phone, open up. So it's kind of a purplish color, and it says on the top, it says "Lonely People with Power," and then below that, there's a couple sort of clip art images of like, I don't know, burlesque or stripper looking women.
Yeah.
And the top one says, "Are you ever alone?" And the bottom one says, "Older or younger?" And then there's a phone number.
And you want me to do this on my phone?
I've already called it on mine. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's only got them on 2 lists.
But so, and on the back of it, it's just like it doesn't say anything. It's just like a picture of like a kind of like a fleur-de-lis sort of design, and not something that I was super familiar with, but I was like, huh. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And Jen was like, "What is this?" I'm like,
"Where'd you get this, you motherfucker?"
I don't know.
Am I not enough for you?
We brought the mail in right before we went to walk the dog, and so we're like out on the walk, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what the fuck? What could that be? And so I'm like Googling shit.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And so I Googled the "lonely people with power" phrase, right? Because I was like, well, that's kind of unique. What is that? And so I Googled that, and I went down a couple rabbit holes until I figured it out. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to call a number just to confirm this, right? So,
all right. Well, I'll call it then. I had to close it out. I got my phone ready, so read the number out to me.
Okay, so it's 747
beep 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 beep.
Okay.
326 5494.
747-326-5494.
Right.
All right. Let me put it on speaker here.
Are you a lonely person with power?
Yes.
Talk. You need more excitement. You need something live. Real people to connect with. Explore your darkest thoughts. Confess your private desires. Experience the incredible. Let Death Heaven take you there. Go to lonelypeoplewithpower.com.
Death Heaven?
Is that a Kool-Aid gland? Are we supposed to drink the Kool-Aid?
Did she say Deaf Heaven?
You sure did.
You did.
The black metal shoegaze band Deaf Heaven.
Yep. So they have a new album coming out, and guess what it's called? Lonely People with Power.
Oh, that's funny.
And so I had ordered a record from them, I don't know, a couple months ago. So obviously that put me on one of their lists. And this was like a viral marketing campaign, apparently, of
great.
them.
Genius.
That is
To
great.
send this like postcard out that like if you weren't like, because like I guess this like the symbol on the back is kind of like, I guess it's like their symbol or one of their like logo symbols or something, but I wasn't familiar with it, you know, so I didn't like it glom onto it immediately. So I was like, what the fuck is it? And I was like, and there was like, no way I'm calling this phone number. And then I like Googled it and I was like, okay, I think this is what it is. So I called it and it's yes, confirmed. It was from Deaf Heaven.
Oh, that's funny. It sounded legit.
It sure did.
And I was in. I was ready to hit.
I was a little turned on.
Pound.
I liked hearing that.
I was ready to hit pound, if you know what I'm saying.
Hit Pound Town.
It reminds me of the very first time. You guys ever call phone sex back in the day?
Never did.
Anyone?
I did. I did as a prank with my kids, my friends, my kids. Oh my god.
It's like, well, I'll tell you what we need to do, kid. Let's go make some 900 calls. Right? Yeah.
Let me teach you a little trick. Take your mind off that pain.
Times were different, but yeah, brilliant marketing campaign. Good on Deaf Heaven. All right. Well, shall we get on to my little grim and pleasant roundup here?
Let's do
Do
it.
it.
This is so the grim is going to be strange tales of corpses, and the pleasant will be the history of our favorite salad dressings and sauces. So corpses, dressings, and sauces. Now this first one, so a lot of people have been to Lincoln Park in Chicago, but likely don't even know about this if they have been there. It's a well-known story, and there are some historical markers in place now, but you don't hear enough people talking about the fact that while you are strolling through the lovely grounds of the vast park, you are walking over a corpse field. So in the 70s, a teenage girl named Pamela Banos was driving by the park and took note of a relatively famous landmark in the area known as the Couch Tomb. Now, this was a pretty large stone mausoleum, all alone amidst the rest of the more typical park elements. And she asked around and learned that the park used to be a cemetery. So Bannon did some further research at the local
You
library.
moved the headstones, but you didn't move the bodies.
Well, that's pretty much the story.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is crazy. So she tried to do some further research at the library, and numerous articles popped up with various explanations of why the tomb of millionaire hotelier Ira Couch had been left when all the other graves were supposedly moved. She found some stories that said that the Couch family had fought against it being moved, and then another story speculated that political clout was involved, and yet another one made a vague reference to a Supreme Court case, a battle to get this moved, and other reports wrote that it simply had been too heavy to move. So she was hooked on this story as to why this mysterious, why there are so many mysteries and why there are so many explanations for this one part of this story. And so years later, when the local papers made their archives available online, now we've jumped ahead to the 90s, Bannon really got to work on the research. And in the mid-1800s, she found, supposedly the cemetery had been completely dug up and moved. And at that point, the cemetery had been in use for a few decades, and as was common back in these days, the poor were buried in a potter's field. In other words, unmarked and sometimes mass graves. So this area was now covered in modern day time. This exact where the potter's field was is now a baseball diamond in the park. But the reason that the cemetery was moved was because a local politician began complaining back in the 1800s that a combination of improper soils and the graves being too shallow, that it had become a health hazard. He feared that the graves were too close to the waters of Lake Michigan and that the corpse juice would ooze into the clean waters,
Ew.
which is a thought. So
That's how corpse juice opened up for Ween in
corpse
92.
juice.
Gooey, gooey.
Corpse juice. I feel like we have said corpse juice a lot on this program. over the
Maybe
years.
one too many
There's a
times.
lot I feel like corpse juice comes up a lot. So they moved 60 acres of bodies to another location, another cemetery, and rechristened the location as a park named after the recently assassinated President Lincoln. Then came the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, and this swept through what remained of the rest of the original cemetery, which had not been moved yet, some 25,000 graves. Now, the fire destroyed much of the grave markers, and this was problematic because the city had kept fairly poor records of who was buried where. But Bannon attained some of the actual records, and she said that they still smelled of smoke from that fire because they had just been buried in this cabinet for all of these years. It still smelled like the smoke from the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. It was wild.
Smelled like S'morefest.
S'morefest. Oh, S'morefest. One campfire if you're wearing a wool coat, and you're going to smell like smoke for 70 years. It's proven. It seems that after the fire, the city removed all of the vaults that still had headstones or markers and placed them in that newer cemetery that all the other graves were moved to. And Banos thinks that they left the Couch Mausoleum there just because it was too heavy to move. There was too much involved. And the city began transferring bodies from the Potter's Field to a graveyard for the poor at Dunning, the poorhouse. This was all from the old records. A tuberculosis hospital, an insane asylum run by Cook County on what's now Chicago's northwest side. So in September of 1872, a Tribune headline announced, "The remains of over 10,000 dead persons still need to be taken away." The article said a crew of 10 men was hauling out bodies at a rate of 20 per day, but less than a month later, the paper reported that nearly all of the bodies had been removed without explaining how that task had been completed so quickly. So
Yep, we took care of it.
Yep, got her done. Banos was skeptical. And then in 1874, she found that park commissioners, apparently tired of waiting for families to step up, condemned 712 of the remaining cemetery lots, each of which could have contained as many as 8 separate graves. The park records show bodies being disinterred as late as 1887. As to why some were left behind, Banos says, "It's not as if someone wasn't doing their job or someone was lying. It just got very confusing," as you can imagine. Now, to make things even more confusing, the history books written at that time said that all the graves had been moved, because that's what they were told. So it was kind of a done deal. But Banos tallied that 35,000 people buried in the city cemetery and the Catholic cemetery, which was on the other side of North Avenue between Dearborn and Astor. After counting the bodies moved to Graceland and estimating the number moved to other cemeteries, she calculated that no more than 2,200 bodies were taken out of Lincoln Park graveyards, which leaves more than 12,000 bodies unaccounted for.
My God.
Now, this was in the 90s and early 2000s when this news really broke. And when it did break, the Park District's Julia Bachrock said, this is an interesting quote. She said, "The ground is undoubtedly filled with bones, but she prefers not to use the word bodies to describe them. And this is a quote, that makes it sound like a graveyard, and it's not. The land has been far too disturbed for that. It's simply skeletal remains." That was the official statement. So to this day, when you're out in the beautiful Lincoln Park area of Chicago, you are walking over 12,000 some unknown, unmarked souls that perished.
I mean, that's like a small town, dude. I mean, that's 20,000.
Yeah, that is so many bodies. But it's fascinating. I mean, what do you do? I mean, you would literally have to dig up the entire thing because they were trying to rely, again, those county records were not really well done. So they were kind of relying on families knowing where those graves were, so they knew relatively where to dig for this specific person. And if the graves didn't have markers, they didn't even know where to dig. These weren't laid out in some sort of grid.
The other thing that was questionable about that story was the fact, like, if they wanted to pull out somebody's body, but like, I know this such and such is literally 5 feet from this tree, you know, my great grandpa.
Yeah, no trees.
Like, but no, I mean the tree. Let's say there's a tree or whatever, a rock or something like that. I know exactly where they are. But then if they're 8 bodies deep, you know,
yeah,
how do you know which one it is?
Yeah.
You know, that's oh wow.
Well, to your point, I mean, a lot of trees were marked. That's how I find Danny's grave up at the cemetery. I know which tree it's under.
How can you ever pull out your right relative to put them in the plot you want?
It's a crazy story. Like,
it is.
Like you said, it is an entire town of graves that people don't visit. You can't go, like, they're playing baseball and basketball and chess and throwing frisbee over it, and a lot of people don't even know this when they're playing around there. But Banos's research led to the city putting in some landmarkers and some signs saying that, you know, have some respect because here lie 12,000 fucking sets of bones.
The ghosts are gonna come haunt your asses if you don't stop.
Crazy and grim. So that means it's time for a pleasant, and our first dressing is the mother of all dressings. My personal fave. I think most people, well, by far most people's favorite.
Ranch. We're talking ranch, baby?
Dressing. We got to be talking about ranch. This, you know, we don't have Caesar salad Doritos, bitches. We don't have Italian seasoning corn nuts.
Would eat.
But we, yeah, that does kind of sound tasty. But we got ourselves Cool Ranch and ranch flavored everything. So ranch has been the best-selling dressing in the United States since 1992. Now, before that, what would you guess was the king of the dressings?
I'd say either Thousand Island or just like Italian vinaigrette.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Thousand Island.
Thousand Island's a good guess.
Vinaigrette too.
Well, it was Italian. Italian was king. And ranch dressing was invented in the early 1950s by Stephen Henson, a Nebraska native working as a plumbing contractor in the Anchorage, Alaska area while cooking to feed his crews. Henson retired from plumbing at the age of 35 and moved with his wife, Gail, to Santa Barbara County, where in 1956 he purchased a guest ranch in San Marcos Pass and renamed it Hidden Valley Ranch.
Oh my God. Why couldn't we see that coming?
I was kind of hoping that, I figured if I hung one more second, someone would say.
Yeah, you might have. Yeah, might have had it.
Henson served the salad dressing that he invented, again, on the fly, just feeding workers up in Alaska. He served the salad dressing he had created at his Hidden Valley Ranch steakhouse, which had become popular. And guests ended up wanting jars to take home. This was the first commercial customer or the first commercial enterprise of ranch dressing. And he made a deal with his friend Audrey Ovington, who was the owner of Cold Spring Tavern. And in 1957, Henson began selling packages of dressing mix in stores. So that goes all the way back to the mid-50s. Now, this is a lesson in trademark strategies, folks. You got to avoid certain common terms. This is fucking fascinating. So Hidden Valley Ranch was trademarked, but when other companies started selling their own versions of ranch-style dressing, Hidden Valley Ranch unsuccessfully sued because the courts agreed that since things like ranch-style beans, ranch-style food in general, had already become a commonplace in the culinary world, you couldn't trademark the ranch style. So they didn't trademark ranch. So the other imitators quickly dropped the style and just went with ranch. And to this day, Hidden Valley Ranch is the only company that doesn't call it ranch. It is Hidden Valley Ranch. Everyone else calls it ranch dressing. But imagine if they had done that copyright or that trademark right.
Yeah.
I mean, they did okay. There's no question. Hidden Valley Ranch did just fine. But if they were the only ones who could sell the bottles, who could sell the mixes and sell the recipe to restaurants, they would have quadrupled their profits at least. But so there you have it. The
Did you
truncated
literally buy
version
barrels of
Hidden
that at
Valley
Costco?
Ranch. You can buy ranch anywhere because the secret.
But like it's like a barrel of Hidden Valley.
We did a story about it in Weird Trip like years ago.
Hidden Valley
they were selling
Ranch.
it in
Yeah.
a keg. You
a
can get it in
keg,
form.
a keg of ranch. Give it to me. You know, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I liked the bottled ranch, but I can't. Well, I can't eat it now, but I can't tolerate the bottled ranch now. It has to be made from scratch. I can make my own with vegan eggs.
What's in ranch that you can't have now?
Well, the bottled version, there's dairy in it, or soy, or something.
Is there?
It must be.
Okay.
It must be so. Well, it probably does have buttermilk. The original recipe called for buttermilk, but you can make a convincing. I think there's actually a separate. Then, like now, even Hidden Valley probably has ranch and then buttermilk ranch, because
I get the Lighthouse stuff that you get in the refrigerated section.
Lighthouse.
It's in a little jar. Yeah, Lighthouse. I think it's Lighthouse.
Well, for a long time, restaurants I think preferred Lighthouse, because it was just a better taste and consistency for dipping your French fries in. And there's no question that it's better than Hidden Valley for that. But it's so easy and cheap to just make your own ranch with mayo and the herbs and seasoning. Then you can make shit tons of it. And, a little squeeze of lemon in there. A lot of people have toyed with their own recipes. But the main thing is they can call it ranch. If Hidden Valley had done their research, there would only be one ranch. Whether or not these dressings would have existed that we know and love as ranch outside of Hidden Valley, it's impossible to know. But interesting history all the same. And now back to some more corpse grimmery. These next couple of stories are right off of Listverse. I feel like we might have talked about the crash test dummies one, but y'all remember Vince and Larry, the crash test dummies who taught us the importance of using a seatbelts in the 80s and 90s?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, only so much can be learned from dummies. So the potential for trauma and car crashes can only truly be gauged using real human corpses. Now, cadaver research has been going on for decades, of course, but automakers try to downplay their use, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in conjunction with funding from automakers like Ford, to this day conducts cadaver tests every single year. Everything from seatbelts to safety glass was first tested on cadavers, which could then be given x-rays and autopsies to determine exactly how flesh and bone would respond in just such an incident. And those with a squeamish bent will be pleased to... Oh, I guess I read that wrong. Those with a squeamish bent will be pleased to learn that cadaver testing has declined significantly in recent years. So it is still happening, but it's not as popular. The safety systems in most automobiles are as good as they're going to get at this point. And most tests these days are done virtually using computer models, which makes sense. But that's quite a thought that, I don't know.
Can you imagine how many lives they saved by doing that, though? Like, the data where they got out of that early on probably did us all wonders.
Well, absolutely. But it makes you wonder how many of those people donated their bodies for that sort of research. And maybe that goes into like a slush fund of bodies.
Well, it's a sense of like, I'm gonna be if I'm dead, I'm dead. My body's there. Let it be, do some good on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
Let it be for science.
Also, I don't believe in seatbelts, so I'm really into this.
and then you just end up being a fucking crash course dummy. That's
man.
Instead of curing cancer,
Yeah, that's the thing. But to Christopher's point, it probably has saved a lot of lives. I mean, these studies, there is nothing like a human body. Even the computers, I'm sure they can do all sorts of stuff that gets you pretty close. I mean, we know enough about how our bodies handle certain types of impact at this point, but we know that because we did research on actual cadavers and studying people who actually died in car accidents, I'm sure. But I found that fucking fascinating. What an interesting program. This one is a grim way to go. Now, we talked once, I feel like it's come up a few times, about the dude who put on a hazmat suit and climbed down into a woman's outhouse in like a KOA campground or something so that he could watch them doing their biz. Well,
watched that talked about it.
Yeah, just it was so fucking depraved. But a couple years back, a dude in Fukushima, Japan, crawled into one of those Japanese floor toilets. I don't know if you've ever seen these. The toilets there are very different, and they're like elongated, and it's sort of like it's not as long as a urinal, but it looks more like a urinal that's on the floor, like it's flush with the floor. And you lay down or you squat. Women squat, and or everybody squats to poop. And that's the system. But so they're a different type of system altogether. But presumably, this man crawled into one of these toilets to get some close-up action of all things bodily. And he ended up getting stuck down in the tank. Now, this is kind of hard to picture. I'm actually going to send you... This isn't a photo, of course, but... It is... Oh, God, I just got some spam. Is this from... This got to be from Deaf Heaven. Oh, it is. I'll open that a little bit later. But I'm going to send you this. So this is an illustration of how they think the man was originally positioned. And as you can see, his head would be looking up at the toilet. And as I described, it looks like a sideways urinal to some degree. That is how they believe he crawled down in there. It's kind of like there's a little septic tank immediately under the toilet. So unlike our toilets where it's wet, there's water and that goes into like an S curve, whatever that's called, like a P-trap type thing, and then goes down into another drain, and it's all water all the way out until you hit the sewer or the septic tank out in your yard. These had little septic tanks down in below the toilet, and they were dry until it got down into the tank. So he was just trying to chill down there with his head poking out toward the window to the butthole in Vagina Town, but he apparently became stuck. Now, he was down there until a 23-year-old woman went to the loo and saw what she thought was a human foot down in the tank. And so she ran to get help, and that's when they put a light down there and they tried to pull out the leg, but they couldn't. So they had to really dig this entire little septic system up. And that is when they discovered the body of a man down there. And he was all twisted up by that point, so they assume that he was trying to wriggle his way out but got trapped, and because of the winter cold, apparently was part of the system down there. This was just below the surface. But, there's nothing heated down there, and it was in the middle of winter. And apparently, they estimate that he lost circulation because of the position that he was in, and the autopsy sort of proves that out. But ultimately, he died from exposure. He froze to death. And they think that he was down there probably a few days, which means plenty of women likely shat and pissed upon his corpse in that twisted position right down there, just below the surface of that toilet. A rather pathetic end, but fitting if he really was down there to peep. But that's just a guess. They can't think of any other reason that he would have crawled down there. Mental illness maybe, but they think that, and I guess this has happened before, men have been caught climbing down these big-bottomed toilets to watch them big-bottom women. But he didn't quite make it out. So, a grim end indeed. But that means it's time for another pleasant. And now we will move on to French dressing. Tangy. What's your guys' favorite salad dressing, by the way?
Ranch.
Is it ranch?
Ranch. I love a Caesar salad, though. I can't lie.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit.
I don't know. I like various forms of vinaigrette.
So
I also like
Italian,
ranch.
Yeah.
I'm not too fancy. I used to like Thousand Island a lot.
But I don't know. I usually, most of the time I use ranch. It's for when I'm dipping carrot sticks
Yeah.
and celery in it
Making
for
vegetables
wings when
worth eating.
When I have wings. And
Absolutely.
like I kind of like I'll put like ranch on one side of the bowl and like blue cheese on the other, and I'll like dip the veggies into the ranch and the wings into the blue cheese.
Yeah. Well, much
Yeah,
like
veggie plates, man.
much like a
Ranch
lot
is-
of go ahead, Lyle.
I was just gonna say ranch is the king of veggie plates. That's for sure.
All right. There's very little savory that can't be made at least a little more interesting with ranch on. I am a mega ranch fan. Yeah, I'm not fancy with my sauces or dressings. Ranch all the fucking way. But much like a lot of foods with national names attached to them, French dressing doesn't have much connection to France other than it was vinaigrettes were referred to as French dressing. But in the 19th century, French dressing started to be used by American chefs. And in the early 20th century, American recipes for French dressing often added their own flavorings to the vinaigrette, including paprika, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, onion juice. I have never heard the term onion juice, but I'm here for it. Sugar and Tabasco sauce. But they kept the name French dressing. And by the 1920s, bottled French dressing was being sold as Milani's 1890 French dressing. So it was trademarked at one point, but only as Milani's 1890 French dressing. So it was not clear whether it included ketchup at the time. But the modern version is sweet and colored orange to red from the use of paprika and tomatoes. The recipe was loosey-goosey for a while, but in Canada, the FDA, they have their own version of the FDA. It stated that French dressing must be prepared using a combination of vegetable oil, vinegar, lemon juice, and the final product must contain at least 35% vegetable oil. So that could be all sorts of flavors happening in that. But it ultimately ends up with a sweet and tangy treat. I loved French dressing when I was a kid. I loved it on like shredded cabbage for some reason.
Sounds good, actually.
Yeah, some French dressing on top of that with some slivered almonds. That combination, it's almost like like an American, like an Applebee's Asian salad, I think they called it, I wonder if they still call it the Oriental chicken salad, because we phased out that word, Oriental. I wonder if Applebee's, I gotta look that up. Applebee's, I bet it's Asian now.
Probably Asian, yeah.
Applebee's Oriental
It's like, you are racist.
chicken salad. It's still on the menu. Oriental chicken salad. I never understood why the term Oriental became a bad word. I mean, we used to refer to Asia as the Orient. That'd be an interesting thing to look up on a future date, why that's considered. It could just be one of these things. Things are tricky. Like, calling somebody a person of color is allowed, but you can't call them a colored person. That's a very, very finite difference, but it's a difference all the same. All right, back to some more Grimm. Where are we at clockwise? We're doing one epic show, so I think we're still good. A couple more here. This one is called Pickled Corpses, which could be part of one of these savories here. Once again, right off list first. I'm just going to read it. A half-century before the Panama Canal was constructed, a railway was built to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The chief inspiration for this project was the California gold rush of 1849 and the mad rush to stake a claim to fortune. Men came from across the globe to work on the railway. The railway. Said it right the first time. Many without any identification or known next of kin. This feat of engineering would come at great cost to many. Diseases like yellow fever, malaria, and cholera plagued the workers, and thousands died, not to mention injuries on the job. A ban on opium caused many of the Chinese workers who had become addicted to the drug in their homeland to commit suicide. It's already grim. No official records were kept, but the death toll could have easily exceeded 10,000. It might seem natural that the Panama Railroad Company would simply bury their dead and move on. It might seem, but they had other plans. Keeping their eye on the bottom line, they pickled many of the corpses and sold them off to medical schools and experimentations. Could have ended up as a crash test dummy or at the bodies exhibit. We talk about this all the time. People, that's why I'm saying, like, the story about the crash test dummies. Yeah, great if those corpses signed off on being used as such. But many, especially back in the earlier days of this country, we didn't worry about such things as signing a contract.
Wasn't Holmes like the serial killer that did that?
Yeah.
He had his little mansion that he'd with booby traps and shit and like kill people, and then he'd take and de-skin them, de-limb them, I guess, or like keep them in skeletal form so that they could sell them to like colleges.
And to this day, they know that I think they proved that one of those skeleton, like the biology class skeletons at Harvard, it was like one of these big schools. They determined that it was probably a victim from H.H. Holmes. Yeah. Wow. But there's some of those in colleges around the world, probably. Yeah. That's how he made his money. So he made some of his money. He took some of his victims and he soaked them. When they found his House of Horrors, the H.H. Holmes House of Horrors, they found all sorts of barrels of skeletal remains being soaked in acid to remove the flesh, but to clean and preserve the bones. And he would put them back together and sell them.
Did they ever come out with the movie for that, The Devil in the White City? Or were they were going to make a movie of it, or did they?
Sounds familiar, but I don't remember. Oh.
I feel like they were going to turn that book into a film, but I don't know if it actually happened yet.
Well, we did a whole episode on it, and I'm sure we talked about that at the time.
Yeah, there's documentaries of it. Yeah,
there's tons of stuff on H.H. Holmes. It's a crazy story of depravity. It's like, there are a handful of stories like John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, not just serial killers, but what they did to their victims and what they did to the corpses and stuff, like next level shit. Ed Gein. H.H. Holmes is one of those, like top 5, top 10, like extra demented, extra depraved individuals.
Was it Devil in the White City?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese. It either came out recently or is coming out soon.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
I know.
Wonder how far they'll go with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess we go pretty brutal these days. Man, that'll be an interesting thing to watch. But
I know that Netflix, it was the lead character in Sons of Anarchy. I can't remember his name. What's that?
Jax.
Yeah, Jax. He was the guy that played the character Jax.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be in this new series.
Charlie Hunnam. Sorry.
Yeah, Charlie. He's starring in a role. I think it's Dahmer, is what it's about, and he plays Dahmer. And it's going to be a Netflix only.
Did I do this with
it's already been
literally just
Peter?
did that
It's the guy from American Horror Story, though.
Yeah,
well, maybe
Peters.
It's a different serial killer
Evan
than
Peters.
He's portraying, but it's going to be a whole season of him portraying the serial killer. I can't remember who it was, and since he brought it up with serial killers, I just figured.
I'd be surprised if it was Dahmer because they did that pretty thoroughly with that Dahmer. That show was good, but it was.
It might have been Gacy then.
Yeah, it could be John Wayne Gacy. I don't think I've ever seen.
It's out to be soon. It's supposed to be this summer. It's going to be coming out. So we'll all know by then.
Well, just to wrap up the pickled corpses stories, it ends saying bodies were in high demand at this period, and as advances in medicine and studies in human biology was really exploding at this time. And for over 5 years, the Panama Railroad Company was the leading supplier of bodies to medicine.
Oh God!
So yeah,
they're getting double their money because they get a slave, and once that slave is dead, they still make money.
Yeah, and I think that some of the we've talked about the bodies exhibit. Christopher and I went to that in Seattle, and those were mostly I think Chinese prisoners. But I always wondered, how many of those could have been from some of these kinds of things.
Well, the deal is like the railroad company had slaves. Yeah, am I wrong on that notion?
I don't know if they were slaves or if they were like very, very poorly. They were not living the high life, but it was 100%. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, well, I mean, because like a lot of the slaves that were here in the Pacific Northwest during slavery were people that were working in the mines and railroad tracks. And
yeah, the Asians were the ones that were, the Chinese were the ones that were working the railroads mostly. Yeah, I don't know if they were technically slaves, but they weren't treated much better if they weren't. But,
well, I'm thinking the when you get like on a port, you go to the bar and you get kidnapped. So the Shanghai. Yeah, same kind of theory. It was during that time, right?
Well, Shanghai was that was the Americans kidnapping other Americans to force them into joining their, if not army or crusade, whatever they're going out, just to force them to work on the ship. When you wake up out on a boat, you get drugged at a bar, you fall through a hole, you land, you wake up on a ship. It's like, don't worry, we'll be back in 8 months. Yeah, that was a real thing.
Shanghai. A little bit of slavery.
They called it Shanghai.
It went on from the early 1800s to like the early 1900s, I would think, and then taper off.
Yeah. I think that means it's time for a little bit of a pleasant. Now, someone mentioned Caesar dressing or Caesar salad. The story of Caesar dressing is interesting because it's one of those rare cases where the dressing came from the invention of the salad itself. It wasn't something that was invented as a separate sauce. And it's funny, I was working on the story at the pub tonight, and I ran into my pals Alicia and Josh. Alicia said that when they were abroad recently, I guess we could say, discovered the very place, the very country, very city actually, where the Caesar salad was invented. And I was kind of surprised. Do you guys want to take a guess?
It's like a hotel or something. Wasn't it a restaurant?
No, you might be thinking of the Waldorf salad.
I think I am. You're right. Yeah.
Or the Cobb salad. Both of those were invented in hotels. You guys know where? Oh wow!
The vineyard.
Dumping rain right now. I love it. Well, what country? Take a guess. What country was the Caesar salad? Would you guess the Caesar salad was invented in?
I mean, Italy or
something. Named after Caesar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Treat. No, so I'd say Rome.
Boston.
Boston. Yeah.
It was invented in Tijuana, Mexico.
But perfect.
But there is an Italian connection. So Caesar Cardini, an Italian immigrant, had set up his own restaurant in Tijuana in 1924 called Caesar's. And when the kitchen one night was overwhelmed and short on ingredients, he originally prepared this little salad tableside. They tried to make it a fancier experience because it's like, shit, we're down to the bullshit. We got some bullshit back here. I'm going to chop it up together, but I'm going to do it tableside to make it fancy, little presentation. And people loved it. It became a hit. However, while most versions of the dressing contain olive oil, crushed garlic, salt, Dijon mustard, black pepper, lemon juice, Worcestershire sauce, and anchovies, Cardini's daughter and several other sources have sworn that the original recipe used only Worcestershire sauce, not anchovies, mustard, or herbs, which Cardini considered too bold in flavor. Modern recipes typically include anchovies as a key ingredient. Of course, there's anchovies in Worcester sauce, Lee and Perrins anyway, are frequently emulsified and based on mayonnaise. Many think that Julia Childs was one of the people that modified this recipe. But Caesar salad, invented in Tijuana, Mexico. Never would have guessed. Let me see here. I'm going to end...
That was quite the salad toss-up, if you know what I'm saying. Somebody's been tossing salads around all day.
Good stuff. I'm going to do one more short, grim, and then end on one more pleasant here. And this, again, is from List First. This is the story of the corpse-eating robot. In the summer of 2009, headlines abounded with tales of military robots being designed to ingest human corpses as a power supply. I feel like this may have come up in one of our conversations with Rob. He might have brought it up. I can't remember, but the macabre
I feel
creation.
like we talked about it.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. The macabre creation called Eater, EATRTM, stands for Energetically Autonomous Tactical Robot. Could operate in Here we go. Could operate in perpetuity without refueling by consuming any available biomass in the area. Cyclone Power Technologies Incorporated, sounds so Hollywood, and Robotic Technology Incorporated, which are developing the robots, were quick to point out that the biomass would not be flesh, human or otherwise, but rather vegetations. Cyclone CEO Harry Scholl said, "We completely
Wrong,
understand
bitch. It's corpses are nothing."
the public's concern about futuristic robots that our engines can create usable green power from plentiful renewable plant matter. Much of the American military concern is located in Middle Eastern deserts, not particularly known for their lush vegetation." This was about 10 years ago. So it might not hurt to make a few tweaks to that, which would allow Eater to nibble a corpse or two, despite what the Geneva Conventions might say. So while that initial story was not necessarily talking about human corpses, they leave the option open, and you can only imagine how that could pair with wartime. So I'll leave it on that concerning Grimm. Now let's end with my final pleasant, and that is Worcestershire sauce. It's come up a few times tonight, so we got to talk about it. Where and when did we get this key concoction of cuisine? This is interesting. So the Lee and Perrins brand was commercialized in 1837 and was the first type of sauce to bear the Worcestershire name. The origin of Lee and Perrins' recipe is unclear, but the packaging originally stated that the sauce came from, quote, "the recipe of a nobleman in the county," which is super not vague.
Okay, yeah.
The company has also claimed that Lord Sandys, ex-governor of Bengal, encountered it while in India with the East India Trade Company in the 1830s and commissioned local pharmacists, the partnership of John Wheely Lee and William Perrins of 63 Broad Street in Worcester, to recreate it. However, neither Marcus Lord Sandys nor any Baron Sandys was ever governor of Bengal, as far as any records indicate. So that is part of the lore. But also, according to company lore, when the recipe was first mixed, the resulting product was so strong that it was considered inedible, and the barrel was abandoned in the basement. Looking to make space in the storage area, some 18 months later, the chemist decided to try it, brave soul, and discovered that the long-fermented sauce had mellowed and become quite palatable. In 1838, the first bottles of Lee and Perrins Worcester sauce were released to the general public, and as mentioned, the name came from the fact that Lee and Perrins relocated eventually to manufacturing the sauce from their pharmacy in Broad Street in Worcester. So it seems that locals started referring to it as Worcester or Worcestershire, which was another name for county sauce. So apparently the proper enunciation is in fact Worcester. But
I can never say it.
yeah, it's hard. I had to write it phonetically to even get it right that time.
It's such a great sauce, though.
Oh, it's
I
key.
love the smell of yeah.
It's key for so many things. You can't do a red meat thing without at least a few shakes.
Totally.
Yeah, it's very important. And on that note,
You want to take a little? You want to take a little breaky break and
breather? Yeah,
spin in some triv?
wrap this up. We got a windstorm
let's do it.
brewing outside. It's kind of scary.
No, it's real any longer.
The X-Files bullshit, that was from Fox, like Fox Entertainment, fucking that were plugging those things with the new X-Files and shit, and find out it was a hoax, and it's like, fuck, man.
I feel like it'd be a pretty cool time to relaunch X-Files with all the conspiracy theories, and like they could tie into some of that and maybe go their own way with it, There's
Yeah,
so
well,
much.
it's Mulder and
into.
Scully again too. They're back together. You know, it'd be awesome
I'd be down.
because they were drove apart for like 4 or 5 seasons. You know.
Yeah. Well, we ready to do this?
It's Weird Trivia with Christopher F. Hart, a man from Florida who thinks square shit in nature. Don't get me started on the goddamn brown Harry. It's Weird Trivia that might get Christopher fired.
Let's fucking go, you guys. All right. Question 1. We're going to start this quiz off with some low-hanging fruit, so to speak. What is the world's most consumed fruit? Is it A, apples,
Bananas.
B, bananas, C,
Which don't taste like bananas,
mangoes,
apparently. Mangoes.
or D, avocados?
Oh, boy. Huh.
Ronster, apples, bananas, mangoes, or avocados? The world's most consumed fruit.
Well, I am tempted to go with the OG apples, but thinking about how many avocados we must go through just for the guacamole that we start our meals with at Mexican restaurants.
Interesting.
And avocado oil. There's a lot to break down here. Bananas.
Most consumed fruit.
But in the world, you said.
Planet. On the whole planet.
Well, fucking total guess, but it's probably apples, but I'm going to go with avocados.
Avocados. Solid D. Ronster with avocados.
Probably
John
the
Mark.
grade I'm going to get.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between that and mangoes, but
Yeah, see,
maybe-
I don't know anything about mangoes.
maybe I avocado also, I guess.
Mango woman. I know the Ween song.
I'm gonna stick with my what.
Wait,
popped in-
I'm sorry. Wait, John Mark, did you go with avocados?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm skipping Lyle. Lyle, who loves you, baby?
Chris, who loves you, baby? I'm gonna go with my instinctual voice in my head when I said
boy.
bananas, because I think it was the highest in potassium. That
Sure.
if people, that they're gonna be health nuts. Usually eat them.
Are they higher than
You know.
avocados? You think?
Yeah,
I don't know.
potassium wise, yeah, I'm pretty sure. But like,
Look it up.
on the, I don't know. There's an up and down side on that too. Of having too much potassium too, and actually dying from it. And you could die without
Yeah,
having
you don't want to
enough
go
potassium.
too hog heavy on the potassium.
Yeah, and I love apples, dude. Don't get me wrong. We're apple capital of the world. Somebody wants to say it, but I'm just gonna go with bananas because it's the first thing that popped in my head.
Banana potassium for an average banana is 422 milligrams. Let's see what an avocado is. That does sound high. I'm guessing
really high.
that's higher than an
Like
avocado.
citrus,
Avocado potassium. Well, it's not popping up right away. Oh, 2. No? Well, go ahead, Chris. I'll keep looking. I don't want to interrupt
okay. Real quickly, this just ties into this next question. My girlfriend has an 18-year-old daughter, and she, for the first time, got a cassette at a show the other day. She's way into music right now, so she's going to a lot of concerts and shit. And she came home with a cassette, and she's like, "Mom, I don't know what I fucking bought. How do I even use this?" And she had to show her how to use a cassette. Like, put it in, and I was like, man, that track's so like, how would they ever barely would know how to work a CD at this point? I was thinking about, I was listening to music on Spotify the other day, and I was listening to a CD I listened to all the time when I was younger, and the CD I owned during the song, it would skip during a certain part every time, and without fail, I still am waiting for that
You're
skip
still
to
waiting
happen,
for it,
even
yep.
on my Spotify version.
Same with when when you spill a little chili on your cassette tape and it goes then gets back into the song. You'll hear it forever.
Yeah.
Avocados are slightly higher, pound for pound, than bananas.
Much more expensive to get though too. Okay. In a recent interview, that was a fun word to say just now, we learned that this star has a massive collection of cassette tapes. They've been collecting them for a long time and are proud of their collection.
I love tapes.
Who are we talking about? Has a massive cassette tape collection? Is it A, Jay-Z,
Yeah, hip hop cassettes were a huge part of hip hop. The early days of hip hop.
Totally. Yeah. Is it B? Sting. Is it C? Weird Al. Or is it D? Eminem.
I was so expecting Eddie fucking money.
Interesting, Ron. Show
Interesting.
some respect.
Interesting mix of candidates here. Okay.
Again, Jay-Z, Sting, Weird Al, or Eminem. One of these people has a massive fucking collection of cassette tapes, and they even showed it off in the interview.
Man, I'm tempted to go with one of the hip hoppers, but Weird Al's an interesting choice in there. Dare I chase the Weird Al herring? Seems like someone that would love. Oh boy, I think I'm gonna go Weird Al just because it's weird, and he's Al. But I get a feeling it's probably one of the hip hop guys because that was what started hip hop. Was you would go set up your turntables at a party, you'd do your mixing, and someone would start emceeing, you'd record it and pass that tape around. I mean, obviously that's part of any music movement, but huge in the hip hop world. Yeah.
John Mark?
My first thought when you said Weird Al was Weird Al, so I don't know. It could be literally any of these people. I have no fucking idea, but I'm just going with Weird Al.
What was B?
Sting.
Yeah.
Sting, the artist.
Boom, 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 boom. Every tape you eat.
Lyle.
I'll be listening to you. Listening.
I'll be listening.
You know, no matter how many times I hear that song, I'm not a huge fan of the song, but that little riff, that that's pretty solid. Like that's a solid. It's an eerie, sort of moody tune. It's classic.
Well, it's creepy. It's actually he wrote it for his ex-wife or something. Like that.
It is creepy.
It's
one of the creepiest top 40 songs of all time.
Watching you.
When stalking was acceptable.
Yeah. Exactly.
Every bond you break. It's like it's pretty heavy, really.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, the first thing that came to my mind was a story that I swear I heard that it was Jay-Z, and so I'm gonna have to go with Jay-Z on that.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Only because of that, and I'm just rough memory kind of. It seems to me that I've heard it before, but I don't know for sure.
I'm thankful that the kids haven't really, at least in a town like Wenatchee, everyone's caught on vinyl. You can't find the good shit at Goodwill for a couple bucks anymore, but you can still find a lot of really good tapes because most people don't want to deal with it. But I'm telling you, man, you get a decent system, decent tape player, and tapes that were taken care of. We're so used to digital and streaming, and it sounds pretty good, but when you hear these tapes, it's like they really got the mastering done right on that shit.
Well, they had to. The little dirty secret I think I have is that I have a collection, and I'm thinking about around 300 to 400 cassette tapes. Yeah.
I'm probably about.
And I didn't even do it. I didn't even do it intentionally.
Oh, that's just
every
held on to
cassette I had ever owned. I never got rid of.
Yeah,
so
me either.
I haven't. Yeah, crazy.
They're like diaries. That like I wouldn't sell or give away those tapes for anything unless I was dying.
It was so much cooler because back in the day when you got your cassette, you could open it up, stick it in your boom box, and you're listening to it, and you could unfold the pack, the inner part of the cassette tape and unravel it and literally get the lyrics and sing along with it. And not only that, you get to look at all the different art, work on the. It was just cool.
Well, you know what you could do that you couldn't do with anything else.
Final.
You could put a tape over, like a piece of Scotch tape, over those little divots in the top and record over it. And I have some of mine and Lyle's recordings from back in the fucking probably like 91, 90 or 91. I was singing Queensryche and some Guns N' Roses and probably shit that is incredibly offensive.
Oh yeah. For sure.
There's some treasures in there.
Okay, question 3. Kurt Russell famously had an incredible look-alike stunt double while Kurt Russell was in his prime. We're talking Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, etc.
I've met him.
What struck me as most notable about the stunt double, though, was his eccentric name.
Oh.
Whether or not this was his real name, I'm not sure, but this is certainly how he's listed in all the movies and IMDb and everywhere else.
You'll have to ask me last.
What'd you say?
You'll have to ask me last because I've met him.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Ron will go last here. But what is his name? Is it A, Rod Dangler? Is it B?
They're all going to sound like porn names.
Totally. Is it D? Excuse me, B. Right to D. Is it B, Dick Warlock?
Dick Warlock.
And now I summon forth
thy balls, or they'll slap your ass all
almighty
night.
cock.
Is it C, Stiffs McGee?
Where's Stiffs? I ain't getting on that fucking crane.
Or is it D, Pound Town Tom?
Pound Town Tom.
Again, Rod Dangler, Dick Warlock, Stiffs McGee, or Pound Town Tom? John Mark, what are you going to go with?
I'm going with Dick Warlock. That sounds right.
He said that with so much
Wizardry
fever.
of cock.
Yeah.
I'm
Lyle.
gonna go with the old dangler.
All right. And I assume you've heard the right answer, Ron. You know which one it is. I'm not going to say it. We'll reveal it at the end there.
Yeah, that's fair. But you need, well, yeah, I know the answer. But do you want me to say it?
No, I'll do it at the end here.
Okay.
And then you can tell your story about, how you met him.
Well, there's not much to the story. But I will say his son, up until recently, lived in the Wenatchee area.
Tom the second.
And he worked at a local music shop, yeah.
Okay. All right, question 4. This is the great. This rapper did an interview back in December where he was quoted saying, "One day, people are going to wake up and realize that I'm the most important rapper that ever existed." Which self-involved rapper was publicly quoted saying that? Is it A, Vanilla Ice?
I hope it's somebody at that caliber.
Is it B, Paul McCoy, who's better known as the "Can't Wake Up" guy from the Evanescence song I love so much?
Can't wait again.
Wow. That makes Vanilla
C.
Ice look like fucking Ice Cube.
Most important rapper that ever existed. Was it C, LL Cool J?
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah. He's
Or
important.
was it D, another celebrity I believe Ron meant, Mr. Ice-T?
I did meet Ice-T.
Oh.
And I
Again.
offended him by calling him Mr. T or something like that. No, I asked him, should I call him Ice or Mr. T? He didn't sign my napkin at Denny's.
I don't know why, Ron. I don't understand.
Signed everybody
This
else's.
rapper, again, he did an interview back in December where he's quoted as saying, "One day people are going to wake up and realize I'm the most important rapper that ever existed." Was it Vanilla Ice? Was it "Can't Wake Up"? Paul McCoy? Was it LL Cool J or Ice-T? Ronster.
Well, my process here is I believe that Ice-T and LL Cool J at one point had every right to make that statement.
Sure.
So that, again,
Top
this
killer.
is my thinking. I don't know. But Vanilla Ice was probably going to be my go-to until he said, what was it, Paul McCoy? Are you sure it's not Paul MC Oy? Paul MC Oy.
Might be. Maybe I read it wrong.
Paul MC Oy. I think the funniest of those would be Paul MC Oy. So I'm going to go with Paul MC motherfucking Oy.
All right.
And
all right,
maybe
cool.
he was living a fantasy dream from which he can't wake up. It's probably Vanilla Ice, but I'm standing by my answer.
Okay. John Mark.
Borden rapper. He couldn't have said that. I regret my answer immediately.
Yeah.
Could not have been that fucking brat.
I mean,
I said it anyway.
I don't know. Vanilla Ice is probably pretty delusional, but I don't know if he's that delusional.
Oh, I would believe it.
But I
Back in the
could
day,
see, I
he was
could
huge.
see LL Cool J saying that because he actually had, like the chops to sort of back that opinion up. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm gonna go with LL Cool J.
Yeah, LL and Ice-T, both huge, important pioneers of hip hop. You know, Vanilla Ice, love it or hate it, is an important part of hip hop too, but just for a different reason. You know, that was a different.
Well, he did more.
Sort of
Well, it's
evolution.
kind of like rock and roll. If you could play guitar and sing, you're the fucking shit. You know, if you could play guitar or you could sing, you know, separately. With Vanilla Ice, he was kind of more of a. He could rap. You know, he could do the chops, but he could also dance.
He could dance.
So he was the full show.
I mean, he
you know
could
what
do
I mean?
whatever he did.
So, yeah, you're not gonna see Ice-T fucking dancing around like that.
Yeah.
dude. Yeah. It'd be funny. It's not my turn.
Lyle.
Oh, it is.
You gonna go with Paul MC Oi, Lyle? You gonna leave me alone on that island?
Can't wake up.
I'm gonna go with Ice-T. I don't. You know why? Because he kind of was a little bit of rap, but a little bit of rock too. He was a little metal.
Oh, he's cocky too. Well, both him and Ella. Well, they were all three cocky. I know nothing about MC Oi, but
Look up his name. Let's see if that's the fucking name.
I'm sure it's McCoy, but it's MC Oi on this program from here on out.
All right, question 1. The most consumed fruit in the world is not apples. It's not mangoes. It's not avocados. It was bananas. Oh, starting off strong.
Damn.
Boom.
Right.
1 point for Lyle.
Can't wake up. Come on, I got my fingers crossed for MC Oi here. I was feeling pretty good about avocados.
Question 2. In a recent video interview, we learned that this star has a massive collection of cassette tapes. They have been collecting them for years and pride themselves on said collection. We were talking about Eminem.
Ah,
Yeah,
Boy,
I'm
on a one-way track to whiffing here.
Yeah,
Oh no, I know I got one.
Yeah, I know you got one too. Speaking of, Kurt Russell famously had an incredible lookalike stunt double named Ronster
Dick motherfucking Warlock.
Dick
Warlock.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's a great name. He
Man,
was
what a name, and he looked incredible.
I know.
Yeah, he could even do some pretty close-up stuff. He had a similar build. Dick Warlock was also he played Michael Myers in not the original Halloween, but in Halloween 2. I think he was Michael Myers in a couple. But yeah, he was in a lot of films, a lot of well-known films, but most well-known for his being Kurt Russell's double for many, many a picture.
A storied career for Dick Warlock.
Absolutely. All of the classics of Big Trouble in Little China, you know, that whole era. Yeah.
Okay, Ronster. Well, it's a 3-way tie right now.
Excellent.
We all have a point. It's all
Come
coming
on,
down to this.
MCOA.
It all comes down to Paul McCoy,
Look,
or better known as MC Coy.
MCOA. I had to reward you for including that. I think that's the only thing that's going to come out of this, though, for both you and I.
This rapper was quoted as saying, "One day people are going to look back and realize that LL Cool J was the most important rapper that ever fucking existed."
No.
All right.
John Mark coming in again like the champ we know he is, like the dog he is. Just taking that victory.
But he would be nothing if he had both of his pant legs down. Or both of them
totally.
up.
Yeah, for that matter.
I kind of miss the days where all the hip hoppers had to have some, like, there's still some of this to some degree, but at some point there was a very specific thing, you know, whether you had
Like Criss Cross had their clothes backwards.
yeah, the backwards clothes, the one
The big
leg up.
What was it? The guy, the guys who wear the watch, the clocks on his around his neck.
Big Blade.
Flavor
Yeah,
Flav.
Flavor Flav.
What was the Digital Underground?
Yeah.
With the nose and glasses.
MC Humpty.
What was his name?
MC Humpty.
Was that his name? Do the Humpty Dump? Yeah, I called you fatty. Look at me, I'm skinny. That ain't gonna stop me from getting busy. I'm a freak. That shit was great.
I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. That's my favorite line of that song.
That shit is fucking gold.
Yeah,
Golden era of hip hop.
Totally. Yeah, gone but not forgotten.
Did he die?
No, it's Say Drake.
Oh, yes. Well, it's a different kind of golden era, but exposure. Wow. Well, was that the last one?
Yeah, that was 4, man.
Well, congrats. That went fast.
Yeah.
John Mark took it in the end.
Heyo.
I guess if I was
Heyo.
gonna if I had recalled my vote for MC Oi, I probably would have gone LL Cool J, but honestly, I might have also gone with Vanilla Ice because I figured like that's the bigger story. Well, the biggest story is MC Oi.
Totally.
What's MC Oi up to these days?
Yeah, not much. I don't think he's probably just getting his royalty checks from Can't Wake Up.
That might be a good check, although these days probably not. Let me look it up. MC. Oh God, I typed MC Oi. Paul McCoy. He looks exactly like I picture. Up at the two. Oh, he's been acting. He's in a musical group now, 12 Stones.
Okay.
Oh, maybe his IMDb was for stuff to do with. No, that goes all the way back to 2000. Their fifth studio album, Picture Perfect, was released in 2017. Smoke and Mirrors. So up until 2020, he's been doing music with 12 Stones, a hard rock band. Which makes more sense than claiming to be the most important hip-hop artist of all time. Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
If I'm going to lose, I prefer to lose going with my boy.
I bet we can get him on the podcast.
MC Oi. Oh, wait a minute. It's MC Coy. Because it's one of those. It's one of those
Yeah,
McCoy
McCoy.
with two. I was thinking that it was.
It's not McCoy,
MC
it's MC Coy.
It would be MC Coy, yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, no, it's McCoy, but it's McCoy with two C's. I was, for some reason, picturing it MC OY. MC Coy is not nearly as fun as MC Oi. So I'm going to keep rocking the MC Oi.
Yeah.
Of 12 Stones fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
He looks like a guy that would kill some Taco Bell.
Have you guys seen the
I
Corey
can't stop
Feldman?
poop.
Oh my God!
Say it
Yes,
again?
like him playing the guitar solos on this tour he's on with Limp Bizkit.
Wait, say it
Oh
again?
my God!
I almost brought it up.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit and Corey Haim are on tour together.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
And
Did you see him
so-
playing his solos?
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Well, no, he asked, Fred Durst goes, no.
The kind of guitar
He's
solos
looking at
we
the crowd
did when
like,
we
"Oh,
were
you like this? You like
12.
this?"
Yeah.
we need to spread the truth of what can really happen because it's disgusting. So what happened is Fred Durst is on stage and he's with him. I'm here to sit down here to watch right up front to make sure Corey is playing the guitar and he's doing it real. And he starts off and he's playing Eruption from fucking Van Halen, dude. And when he gets to the finger taps, he's just sitting there fucking playing with the pick and like real back on the neck. And you're just like, up the neck, I said, well, it was technically down the neck. It was up by the fucking headstock. He's playing, and it's like, it's Eruption from Van Halen. It's all finger taps.
Let's give it a listen here.
And
Oh, that might not
it's
be good
recorded.
enough. See, this is the one that I saw. It's just gibberish. He's playing it, but it's just gibberish.
Well, he's not even playing yet.
He's playing this.
Well, that's
But I mean, listen to it. He's just still going. Dig, 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 dig.
it sounds like a hammer-on strips thing he's doing.
Okay, so which one were you
That
talking
actually
about?
sounds pretty good to me, honestly.
This does?
Well, the thing, he was playing Eruption. He was playing Van Halen Eruption. Somebody was in the back. They're boosting it through the PA, and he was faking it. You could tell he was faking it.
All right, here's the one with Fred Durst. Let's see. Fred Durst is coming out with the lawn chair. I haven't seen this.
No, this one, probably.
Word on the street is Corey Feldman is not playing this guitar solo.
Just watch him play as you're listening to it. You know the song.
Corey Feldman is really playing this motherfucking solo. How about you? Okay. No tricks, no
I don't think this is going to be long enough.
straight up, right?
I don't know what was proved here, but that's the end of that clip. It was just a short. I don't know. All he's doing is going with a lot of effects.
It's clear he's doing some kind of bit. He has to be.
Yeah, no, it is.
Well, the way he's looking at the crowd too, he's like, "Oh, you like what I'm playing? You like that?
Yeah,
You know where that came from?"
I did see that.
Well, it's a thing that's been going on for a while. There's a bunch of those clips. There's like 5 or 6 of them that I've seen that he's like playing, and obviously you tell that he's kind of like he's not really playing it. You know, it's not. He's not playing.
Huh. Well, the 2 clips that I saw, it looks like he's playing it, but it's not impressive because it's literally just pick a string, pick it as fast as you can, and
I'm
move
sure
the other fingers. There's just no rhyme or reason to it. I wish I had a guitar right by me. I would pick it up and do what he's doing.
Well, I know, and you could do it. I mean, I could do it right now, but like if you watch, you know how a guitar works. You know the sounds it makes. You know, you do. You're a guitar player.
I'm not finding what you're talking about.
If you watch those videos and watch what he's playing and what you're listening to is 2 different things.
All right, let me look up the Corey Feldman. Let's do this and we'll get out of here. Corey Feldman, he does Eruption.
Yeah, it's Eruption. It's Van Halen's Eruption. It's the Eddie Van Halen's.
Well, that's the clip I just saw. This is supposed to be Eruption.
Yeah.
Okay. That can't.
There's no way he's playing that. He's faking it.
No, that's the same video that I just saw.
Yeah.
This seems like somebody
As edited
it over. This can't be the footage.
Oh yeah, somebody definitely is. Yes.
Like, I think someone's fucking with him. Like, he was doing that first solo I played was the bullshit he was playing, and then somebody in this clip edited Eruption over it. But that's the exact clip that I just played. He's even doing the same face, and he's only playing it within like 3 frets. And you can hear in this, he goes all the way down to play actual Eruption. Yeah, no.
Like with finger taps and stuff, he wasn't even
confirmed, not real. But I don't think that was audio from the stage, because the one that I just played sounded like it was from the stage, and it was just gibberish. But
they could have cut it. No.
Yeah, it was an edit, man. It was a remix. Like, like it was just like. Okay. Making fake real.
Anyway, well, I think I might get a chance to record next week, possibly. Hopefully this won't be our only episode for another month, but that's why we wanted to do a bit of an epic length one. But anywho, if we do get around, I know that I got a few text messages from listeners saying, you guys are finally doing the 9/11 show, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, God damn it, Chris. you put we're working on that new 9/11. Well, I think people believed it.
That's funny.
Chris posted on the Facebook, we're finally working on that 9/11 episode. But
it was a funny image. I can't even remember what it was. It was like, looked like 2 towers or something. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, it was like a bunch of beer cans or something.
yeah, some dumb
It was the guy in the warehouse with the with the forklift knocking shit over.
oh God, I'm finally getting the joke. Well, we talked about it, so I guess technically there's your 9/11 show. But we'll be talking about it in detail next week when we do the actual 9/11 show. Until then, tune in whenever we record, I guess. That's what the show is now. We endeavor to do better, but bet we won't, suppose. Tune in next week, y'all. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
I got my fingers crossed for MC Oi here.